Welcome to the premiere of Psalm 16, Resurrection Day, written by Kip Fox and Dr. Reed Lessing. The Center for Worship Leadership Psalm Library pairs theologians and songwriters to resource the church for singing the Psalms in worship. This connects us to the tradition of the ancient church, but even more importantly, to Christ. Enjoy this short presentation, The Theology of Psalm 16, followed by the release of the new song, Resurrection Day. On behalf of the Center for Worship Leadership at Concordia University in Irvine, California, thank you for joining us.
My name is Reed Lessing. I teach here at Concordia University in St. Paul, Minnesota. It's been my great honor and privilege to partner with Concordia University in Irvine, California on this musical composition of Psalm 16. Peter is an eyewitness to the resurrection of Jesus, the bodily, living Jesus who was alive after his bitter suffering and death and crucifixion. Peter saw him several times. And there Peter is in the second chapter of Acts on the day of Pentecost, and people are wondering, well, what gives Peter the right to say this? Is there additional evidence to what Peter is announcing? And lo and behold, Peter turns to Psalm 16. In the second chapter of Acts, Peter talks about Psalm 16, quoting the last three verses of this Davidic psalm. And Peter does so, announcing that David, the psalm's author, is not only a king, we know that, but David is a prophet. Only place in the Bible David's called a prophet. David actually prophesies concerning the resurrection of Jesus. And there's Peter's second witness. Psalm 16 is a marvelous, wonderful portrayal of David's prophetic hope and certainty that his great, multiply that about 20 more times, grandson would not only die, but rise again. David talks about what this entails in Psalm 16 with the theme of security. Security. That's what Peter's talking about on Pentecost. You can be secure in the resurrection of Jesus. In Psalm 16, David begins talking about God being his refuge, his security. David goes on and says, I won't find security in other gods, only the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He says, the sorrows of those who run after another God shall multiply. David goes on and talks about the security that he has in the true God, the God who made heaven and earth, the God who chose David to be king in Israel. He says, for example, in verse 8, because the Lord is at my right hand, I shall not be shaken. And this is then where he goes into these last three verses in the psalm that, as I said, he quotes in the second chapter of Acts. Again, David refers to this idea of security. My flesh shall dwell secure. You will not abandon my soul to Sheol. You won't let your Holy One see decay. David concludes, you've made known to me the path of life. In your presence there is fullness of joy. At your right hand are pleasures forevermore. David, of course, is talking about Christ whose flesh dwelt secure in Joseph's tomb for 3 days. Christ who didn't see corruption. Christ who is now at the Father's right hand with pleasures forevermore. Peter's testimony then is our testimony. It's the testimony of David. It's the testimony of the risen Christ. There is no other foundation upon which we can build our lives, have security, and say with David and Peter, I shall not ever be shaken.
Apart from you, there is no goodness. You are my portion, Lord. a solid rock, a mighty fortress. You make my life secure. I know that my inheritance reaches beyond the bounds of death. My boundary lines drawn where the cross marked with my Savior's living breath. Deep in the night when I awaken, your word is magnified. It tells me I will not be shaken. You're always by my side. I know that my inheritance reaches beyond the bounds of death. My boundary lines drawn where the cross marked with my Savior's living breath. My heart is glad, my spirit rejoices. Your path leads to light, my future is known. You will not leave me down in the grave. I'm yours forever. This is my resurrection day. I know that my inheritance reaches beyond the bounds of death. My boundary lines drawn where the cross marked with my Savior's living breath. My heart is glad, my spirit rejoices. Your path leads to light, my future is known. You will not leave